All right, welcome back to the Iowa Chill Show. It is December 23rd. It is Christmas Eve. I'm Nathan Cruz, joined by my co-host, Mr. Bryce Borscheller. If you guys are just hopping on now, we just got off with an interview with Mr. Michael Admire, the voice of Drake Bulldogs basketball. If you're looking for that part of the episode, go ahead and scoot about a half hour in. You'll find Mr. Admire, a lot of good inside stories about Drake and why you should be hopping on the bandwagon. But Bryce, welcome. We're here for Christmas Eve. What are you up to for the holidays?
Not much. We got a trip coming up here to Northeast Iowa. We just got back from Northwest Iowa, and then spending Christmas Day with my family. So lots of holiday festivities, and more importantly, my Minnesota Vikings are in contention for the number one seed in the NFC. They got the Packers and the Lions to finish the season. So, as much as I haven't been watching college basketball, as some people may have noticed, I have been watching a lot of NFL football, and I'm pretty pumped up. Also looking forward to Iowa and Iowa State bowl games. So lots of good sports this week.
Yeah, your jersey in the background did some amazing things for me in my fantasy league and put me over Colby's team, which moved me from the semifinals to the championship because of number 18.
Very
So
good.
shout out to Justin the Jet Jefferson. So you got some Christmas parties coming up, or you just say you already been to some?
We hit my dad's side, like the entire side of that
Yep.
family, and then we've got Darian's family and my family kind of splitting up that Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So lots of travel.
Yeah. So you have 3 Christmas parties on the list.
Yes, and we've already done a couple work parties. We've already done our Iowa Chill party.
So really 4 or 5.
Sounds like you're traveling too.
Yeah. Just got back from Laguna. Usually we spend every Christmas Eve at my parents'. But because of Christmas decided to be a Grinch this year and put itself on Wednesday, it's got everyone's plans absolutely in shambles. So this will be my first ever non-Christmas Eve in Algona. A little sad, and the best part about that is my favorite tradition is at that Christmas Eve where I'm the Santa Claus for the 5 nephews and any other nieces and little children are out there. But yeah, I'd go dress up and I'd run around outside in my Santa suit. Merry Christmas! Get the kids all hyped up. If I got any close to the window, they would know it's me. So I got to keep a firm distance. And I go to a couple windows and Santa's peace, baby, till next year. And
God, I bet they love that.
I got so good at one point that people in Algona were starting to hit up my family, said, bring them over here. So I would have to start making rotations throughout Algona. I had to go to my neighbors over to the Bears, and those kids would actually sit on my lap, Bryce. So I was 8-year running Santa Claus where this kid was sitting on my lap, and I grew with him, right? I grew up with this kid, and I saw him change before my eyes to where he started noticing that this motherfucker's not Santa Claus. But after that, there'd always be a pack of Miller Lite waiting for me in the garage as a thank you, Mr. Santa, and then I'd be off to my next house.
Yeah, that's such a good tradition. I'm sad that that's over. But
I'll be back next year.
You're kind of still. You'll be back. Okay, that's good. So the people of Algona, some of the kids obviously probably going to be a little too old, but there's a new crop, and especially in your family, it seems like there's always a brand new baby to celebrate. For anyone watching on YouTube, there is a 5-foot Santa hat that Nate's wearing. Can you show the screen?
Yeah, it is.
That thing it's kind of saving Christmas for me. There's not a lot to celebrate as far as snow and the weather around here, but that freaking Santa hat's kind of brought me back in the Christmas spirit.
It's so long that my neck hurts because it's so long. It's got a little more weight than you would actually think to it. So I can tell like it pulls on the back of my neck. And like the first day I wore it really was for your guys' Christmas party. And my neck hurt so bad the next day. I'm like, it's got to be that. And
did you fix the hole?
No, there's still a hole in there, but we got all the newspaper out of it. It was super dirty. We had to wash it. Madison washed it. So it's a lot cleaner because you saw some of the dance moves I was putting down with that dirty dance floor.
Yeah.
Out there and walking.
Yeah, some of those dance moves are not safe for YouTube. But it was freaking awesome. Great party. That's good. It sounds like we got both a little bit of traveling to do, but it's going to be a great holiday.
Yeah, I don't mind traveling for Christmas. It's for Thanksgiving. I hate traveling. I just kind of want to eat a bunch of food and sit and do nothing but watch football. Christmas, I'm a lot more jolly. Yeah, jolly Nate. Fair. So I'm fine with traveling. You still want to put a certain cap on how many Christmases you got to do, especially if you're plugging each side of the state. So I'm glad to hear that you'll actually be in town, or at least in Pella, not far. Speaking of Pella, you guys got any good traditions there on your family Christmas?
Yeah, for a lot of years, the women in our family would put on a dance production. I think they took a break last year, which was too bad because it's a 1 minute and 30 second, could be on Broadway type show. I'm going to put in a vote to bring that back this year. Otherwise, we got a little saran wrap gift ball. Typically, we do a lot of the present opening on New Year or Christmas Eve. That I think is going to be moved to Christmas night. So, few traditions. What about you?
First off, you guys got my vote to bring that back. I was a little sad from not seeing that last year, but no, you heard my man. I'm Mr. Santa Claus. We'll be at the family farm, the in-laws farm here tomorrow. I have to get off work. I'll head up to New Hampton. Uh, he's been working in his big machine shed. He just repainted lines for the basketball court, and the father-in-law did. And on top of that, he put a pickleball court in there. So it sounds like we're gonna get competitive on this Christmas Eve tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that. Just have a jolly old good time for sure.
No, it's a great holiday. I think we mentioned like Thanksgiving, Christmas, hard to beat. Lots of good food, but it sounds like maybe turkeys are in jeopardy.
Yeah. So Bryce, we've talked about the Great Charles City Chicken Massacre. We had the 31,000 turkeys hit with the bird flu, and it looks like they're getting their revenge. It's been a bad year to be a bird, and they're finally hearing this podcast to say it's time to us deliver our punch. So the first case of bird flu in human confirmed here in Iowa. An individual with avian influenza was reported Friday. This person was exposed to infected poultry while working with a flock in Northwest Iowa. This is where everything's taking action up there in Northwest Iowa, right where I've been.
Yeah.
So hopefully I don't have it. Yeah, not good. I
That's
didn't know
where we're coming from too. So
is that a normal thing? Could bird flu? Is that going humans?
Well,
Or am I just oblivious to that? I think
I'm
it's rare
also
because
oblivious to it.
I think it is rare because clearly they have news reports on it.
Right, and you always hear like different types of like, you hear that animals can get human sicknesses, and I figure it goes both ways sometimes, but it's like rare because it's like how many people are actually hanging around these animals. So don't hang around the turkeys and don't hang around the birds. Apparently,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we don't need any more influenza. I think I mentioned it a pod or two ago. Everyone around us got sick over Thanksgiving. We've been relatively safe in December, so I'm staying away from anything that could potentially carry influenza.
The mother-in-law right now just called us yesterday saying that she's had one of the worst flus of her entire life here last week. They just got back from the Dominican Republic, and she had to go to she went to the hospital to hopefully get some pills or something for it, and she was so bad they put her in the ER.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Gosh, I hope she's doing okay, or she gets over it quickly.
She said yesterday she was starting to feel better. I haven't heard anything today, but
so she goes to the DR and gets sick. You guys went to Cancun and get sick.
Yeah,
something about those all-inclusives and probably
Jesus.
Airports, really.
No shit, right? Especially this time of year when so much traveling's going on. But I think I got sick right at the right time, right after Thanksgiving, and right before Christmas. So I hit that gap to where I could be a full nasty Nate mode come Christmas time.
Yeah, there is an art to getting sick, and it is. Mm-hmm. Some people don't have it. Some people will spend every holiday with a sickness. So if you can avoid that and like pick your times to be sick, I mean that's a special skill.
Yeah. So shout to my body. It clearly knows when and where to get sick. So no, I feel great. So hopefully that stays after Christmas as well. Bryce, we're gonna jump into some sports here real quick and cover a little bit of sports, but we have a friend of ours.
Okay. Who dis?
The Atlantic Bottling Company.
Oh yeah.
I get you that every time.
you will never get me on that cue. I'm drinking some orange mango body armor today, and I would like to thank the Atlantic Bottling Company for helping us take this pod to the next level. Whether you're doing a podcast, working, playing some basketball, if you're in high school, if you're wrestling, take your game to the next level, take your business to the next level, take your pod to the next level with body armor. No artificial sweeteners or dyes, just the good stuff. Lots of vitamins. And for us, we're retired athletes. We're podcasters now, and occasionally podcasters drink. This is a great rehydration after a night of having some fun. Appreciate Atlantic Bottling for supporting us in this first couple months of the pod.
Yeah, they've been great friends of the podcast. Really enjoy having them on and really enjoy what they do. We were at your crib last weekend, having an old boot scoop boogie time down there in Old Waukee. We got back, and I don't know if you noticed that your supply might be a little less than when we arrived.
Dwindled, yeah. That's fine. Yeah.
the word got around with everyone kind of crashing every nook and corner of your house. Every single one of them had a body armor, and
Yes,
that
yeah,
was
and that's good because the last thing you need is for people to be dehydrated at your house and be that guy that's like, oh, now I'm taking care of 7 hungover, sick individuals. So I'm
hmm
glad that we could supply, but most importantly, Atlantic Bottling, thank you for supplying the Iowa Chill Christmas
it's
party with the rehydration.
it's like a babysitter, right? You're paying for a
Hmm.
babysitter. It's a
Yep.
great trade off. So yeah, it really took care of us, and it helped me get back to my traditional drive on the way through Cedar Falls.
Nate, what did you think about, speaking of Waukee, what did you think about that old Waukee Square?
It's cool because it's not overwhelming. That's
Yeah.
I love Des Moines, downtown Des Moines, when I'm looking to have the absolute time of my life. But sometimes I'm not looking to have bloody sickness the next day, and I just want to have a good groovy time. And when I have a good groove, low key night, but a good time, I go to Old Town Waukee. You know,
Yep.
I'm not overwhelmed. Just enough bars, just enough people to have a lot of fun with some good friends.
Totally. Yeah, town that used to be a 1A school. I have some friends from Pella that their parents went to Waukee when it was a 1A school. Obviously, now it's like one of the most fast growing towns in all of the state. But you get a little taste of that small town energy where all of it started in
You
that
definitely
downtown. I'm
do. I
glad
think
we could all
was
do
it their
that.
grain bin down there?
So originally, it was literally like a hardware store, maybe a meat market, and the co op. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
like that's still active too. So right in the heart of where all the growth is happening is just kind of those, primitive farm roots and kind of a fun place to hang out, get a couple beverages, do some karaoke from time to time. We saw a live band at
Yeah,
Kenny's
the live band
Garage.
was awesome.
Yeah, yeah, that guy was good. Yeah,
Sound like a
sounded like a
bullfrog.
frog. Looked a little bit like Ray Charles. He was impressive.
Uh-huh. I love his voice. Uh, we had Miss Maya McDermott on the podcast about a month ago, maybe a little over that, where she had that big upset over number 8 Iowa State, and she was looking to do it again, clearly against Iowa in Iowa City here this last Friday. The Iowa
Yep.
woman hold out UNI 92-86. Maya McDermott drops in a 30 piece. Lucy Olson leads the whole Iowa scores to 21. Moves Iowa to 10-2. I don't know if you got a chance to catch this game. I was on my way back to Algona during once this happened, but we were watching the car. Iowa women were up like 16-17 at one point. And so I'm like, oh, okay, this game might be over. I'm going to switch to some of the college football playoff. And we get home. My family's just glued to the TV. I'm like, aren't we up like 30? No, hell no, dude. It was a 2 point lead at that time. Like, Dad, they can't stop the McDermott girl. She was unbelievable. And there
Yeah.
she is, the Dragon Slayer. But credit to Iowa for
Her,
holding
yeah, her
off.
two biggest games coming in the biggest games.
Uh
So,
huh.
like, she steps up to the moment. What she had 37 against Iowa State women and 30 in this one. Um, so it was so cool to be able to talk to her and like hope she has a great season. I think that yeah, UNI is kind of muddling at that 5-6 now, but they can beat anybody. It seems like.
Yeah. Really tough schedule to start the year. Lost some close ones, but they did get that big one against Iowa State. Yeah, they'll be fine. They've had some good battle tests. It's going to be a good Missouri Valley to run from this year, especially if you have McDermott doing what she's doing right now. And I had a lot
Right.
of compliments on my Christmas party. Like, dude, that McDermott girl's a really good interviewee. I'm like, you're telling me. I'm like, she's done it a time or two. She's
She was
had
so
to.
poised. Yeah,
Uh huh.
just like she was fun, but she also like you can tell she has that 5th year senior media training. Like it was a really fun interview.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully, we can get her back on here come March Madness time.
Be awesome.
Speaking of the other women's side here, Iowa State women fall to 95 after back-to-back losses to number 4 UConn and the 10-1 Oklahoma State Cowboys. No one's had a harder schedule in women's college basketball this year than Iowa State. You can't convince me.
Yep.
They've played at UNI, played South Carolina, played at Iowa, number 4 UConn, and then at 10-1 Oklahoma State to start the Big 12 conference. Talk about a gauntlet to start your year.
And that's all before conference play. No.
Well, Oklahoma State conference play, but yeah,
Okay,
the
so
other
they
ones
just
are,
kicked off.
yeah.
Yeah, just tough and like obviously like when you're playing those tough teams and then you have a hiccup against a team like you and I, it's like shoot. I still think like I'm not off this Iowa State women's team. I think that they can still make a run late, but man, it's been tough.
Yeah, no, they will. They got the little sophomore slumps going on. That happens with a lot of teams. We have all these sophomores who had a lot of good success freshman year. Kind of loses a little bit of momentum from last year carried in this year, especially if that schedule doesn't help anyone, for God's sakes. So I think after you see Christmas break, you get some time away from basketball, collect
Hmm.
yourself, and understand that, yeah, we just went through hell. Uh, ahead of us is a much brighter schedule laying out for us. So I think you're going to see Iowa State bounce back. Audie Crooks has been doing her thing. She just needs to get a little help around her, which I think they absolutely will.
I'll say it again. Women's basketball in the state of Iowa was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Maya, Audie, Lucy, just good shooters. I mean, just dominant down low with Audie. Like, it's just a fun time to be a women's basketball fan.
Yeah, I'm tuning more into them than I really am for the men right now outside of Drake basketball. Iowa State basketball men's side continues their momentum. They took care of, I think, Morgan State last night by about 25 points. Not too much to talk about here. They finished non-conference 10-1. Up next, conference play does begin for the Cyclones here. It's an interesting one. They're traveling to Deion Sanders' land to play the Colorado Buffaloes. These guys are 9-2, and they have already faced earlier this year down in Hawaii. Uh, that was a bloodbath, though. Iowa State took care of business there, 99-7-1. You're going to see a much different game. Colorado's going to be looking for revenge. I think it's going to be something similar to the Iowa game. You're going to see Colorado get that hot start. And I think with the final 8, 9, 10 minutes, you're going to see Iowa State's power and athleticism just will them straight to a victory, just kind of like you did against Iowa.
I agree. Yeah, I had my foot in my mouth with these Iowa State Cyclones right away at the beginning of the season. Said, who's going to step up? You'll see it later in this interview with Michael Admire. They've got a Bennett Sturts that can go to the hole, get those must-make baskets. I will say, we saw this Iowa State team hit the threes that we were talking about. Looks like they have a ton of guys that can step up and shoot. That being said, they did not shoot very well from the three-point line in this last game. I think if they do, they probably win by 40 instead of 20. It's not a cause for concern. Just wanted to point that out. I will continue to potentially be a troll for the Iowa State Cyclones. Rooting for you, but I got to kind of go with my original first take.
Yeah, I'm just happy to see this non-conference schedule end everyone for right now. Get these Morgan States out of here, bring into the Big 12 conference right now, which I think is the best conference when it comes to basketball this year.
For sure. I mean, when you're playing a team like that, the fact that you can still beat a team by 20 when it's like you have to show up and just play good ball against a team that's like, really, we got this before we have the Big 12 gauntlet, just get the win. So, yeah, nothing to worry about there. I think this is one of the strongest teams in the NCAB.
Iowa basketball gets that signature win that we were talking about. They beat the 8-2 Utah Utes over there in Sioux Falls, 95-88, or should we call Iowa Falls? Because the fans absolutely showed up as I predicted here at the Sanford Pentagon. Build small arenas in Iowa City to 6,000-7,000 capacity. You're going to win every home game. Unbelievable what this crowd can bring. So shout out to Iowa, man. And Bryce, we talked about in an original podcast about how balanced these Iowa Hawkeyes were. The one thing we needed was that one guy to hit that 20-point threshold. Peyton Sanford was that guy this last game, scoring 24 points and lifted us at a late surge to beat Utah.
Yep. We needed to see it. I think that it gives these guys a lot of confidence. If there's anything that you need to draw from that non-conference schedule is confidence going into the Big Ten. I like what I see, even in losses to Iowa State, losses to the Aggies. Like, they're close. Michigan, I'm pretty sure was a
2-point
one-score game.
Yeah,
2-point game, yeah. So the losses have been close. Some of the wins have been close, like against Northwestern. But I think overall, like, you just got to build momentum for this Hawkeye team. There was, I think, a lot of doubters, but I'm liking what I'm seeing so far.
Yeah, no, I've been liking what I've seen all year. Just need that one guy to say, give me the fucking ball. I'm going to go make this game our freaking W for the night. And that's exactly what almost everybody did. Brock Harden hit some clutch threes at the end. Owen Freeman steal and dunk and one. Everyone really stepped up. So shout out to Iowa Hawkeyes. That was a fun game to watch. Utah has some dogs. They had these twins on their team shooting lights out from three. So good answer from the Hawks there. They open up next week. New Hampshire comes to town, and then we'll begin conference play. I think their first game is at Wisconsin, which is the absolute last game you want to play right now in the Big Ten.
I actually haven't had a chance to look at the Big Ten standings. What is who's standing out right now for those Big Ten?
Really, I know you asked me this earlier. No one really in the Big Ten's really impressing me. And Wisconsin's had some big victories. Michigan State looks athletic here. I don't know. We'll find out a lot after the first week of Big Ten play. I haven't paid too much attention to the Big Ten Conference just because I'm expecting kind of a down year. It's going to be cannibalism this year. Everyone's going to eat each
Right.
other up.
The next 2 months, you already said it, is cannibalism. So Big 12, Big 10, you just kind of eat each other up, and then you figure out a lot towards that first or second week of March.
All right, Bryce, we got some interesting news coming out of the Pop-Tart Bowl. You want to fill me in here?
Yeah, I was made aware this morning after listening to Pardon My Take that the Pop-Tart Bowl trophy is a toaster. I didn't know that. Apparently, that has been the case the last couple of years. It is now a working toaster. So the winner of the Iowa State versus Miami bowl game will have a working toaster trophy, which is awesome because I believe that the Pop-Tart mascot or some part of that situation is also edible. So that toaster is going to come in handy.
So, yes, they'll be able to put normal-sized Pop-Tarts in this toaster. But at the same time, I believe they're going to have the giant-sized toaster where they used it to sacrifice the mascot last year. Rumors are, I'm hearing that they'll have 3 new flavors on top of that Pop-Tart that they're going to sacrifice these living mascots and the edible food when it comes out. So
we mentioned it last week. Like, this is quickly becoming one of our favorite bowl games, and I love that it's becoming more and more edible. That adds a lot of swag to that bowl game.
Yeah, outside of college football, this is by far my favorite bowl game. It's not even close. So we really need Iowa State to win this game and eat some Pop-Tarts.
Let's do it. Well, I know you don't have it necessarily on the notes, but are you looking ahead to that Monday game for Iowa against Mizzou?
Is it on Monday, the 30th?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, Missouri just sold a potential quarterback transfer out of Penn State from Iowa. So let's go and get that W. I don't know where the hell Missouri is getting this NIL money. They're paying $600,000 for Tony Perkins, and he's averaging 5 points right now for Missouri. And now I think they paid this guy about $1.5 million out of Penn State. Iowa can't fucking compete with that. So
no, and I was having this conversation with some relatives over this last Christmas, and I'm like, how long are some of these NIL donor funds going to last? Like, how long is it sustainable? I know that some of them are being put into like index funds and stuff to make it so it's in perpetuity, but it's like, how can you afford 2-3 major sports paying all these players? I don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah, you would hope that Iowa, with all the doctors and pharmacists and everyone with some good money in that background, to be able to give back to the program. The thing with Iowa is, like, you have Iowa women's basketball to support, you have Iowa wrestling to support, you have Iowa football to support, you have Iowa men's basketball to support.
Right.
So there's a very diverse amount of programs. Where and how do you put your money into it? And unfortunately for Iowa, we have put some okay money into the NAL when it comes to football cause, and it's all kind of bit ourselves in the ass with the Cade McNamara, and then obviously the Caden Proctor. But you look at the Iowa women's, they took a gamble, not a gamble, but they put a lot of money into Lucy Olson, and she's paying out damn well. So
totally,
yeah, there's gonna be misses, there's gonna be hits, and it seems that we're striking out really bad when it comes to football.
It does, and I appreciate the creativity and the ways that we're like getting the funds for this, like. But not every school is going to be able to, have a T-Bone Pickens from Oklahoma State that just says, like, I'm donating my life savings to this football program. It goes to nowhere else other than football. I know we're kind of derailing here, but it's like this NIL thing is getting more and more interesting. I just am curious to see where it goes in the long haul.
Yeah, I can only imagine how stressful it is for a coach and a college coach.
Right.
Especially
Like,
Kirk Ferentz, the coach for the last 2 decades. Nothing like this all of a second when he's getting older. Now we need you to keep financially responsible for every single one of these 70 dudes you got on your team and how they're going to get money. Honestly, I know they got someone that's probably leading that charge, but that's got to be such a fucking headache.
Right. Like, they have all the leverage. They can leave whenever. The coach doesn't know what to plan on. And then you've got guys like Admire who comment on how loyal these guys that came over to the Drake basketball program and are loyal to that coach. You like to see that, but it's like, man, if you're getting offered millions of dollars, I don't know how you leave or stay.
Yeah, right, especially for a guy. I could have done a lot of good things back in my day with that money.
Right.
But all right, Bryce, let's jump in. It's holiday season, baby. I got my Santa hat on. I'm ready to jump into our top 5 favorite Christmas movies of all time.
Let me pull up the list. I'm ready for this segment. I've got I think we're going to be similar. I've got maybe a couple dark horse ones in here. And I've got, just the general commentary on Die Hard, which I won't bring up again. I asked a lot of people. I've heard enough about this Die Hard thing. I'm just frustrated at this point, but excited to hear your list.
I'll go ahead with my number 5 here. Give me The Night Before. not your traditional Christmas movie. You ever heard of it with Seth Rogen?
We just watched it on Sunday night.
Was that your first time ever?
Second,
Okay.
and it lived up to every
Oh God,
bit
I
of my
love it.
memory. I watched it under the influence many years ago, and I remember loving it. And I'm like, let's watch it again. We'll see if it holds up. And it's so good.
That's a
That
fitting.
little angel guy that like is at every corner wherever you need a joint. He's there to help you out with a situation.
That's a fitting first watch, being that under the influence to watch that movie that they're completely under the influence of something. I ever laughed so hard in a movie theater at one particular
That's so
scene.
good. Little Dave Franco, little Miley Cyrus, obviously Seth Rogen. What's it? Joseph Gordon-Levitt. It's good. It's a good cast and just fun movie. I'm going to go with a fun one as well. Why him? Franco again, Bryan Cranston. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. Lots of laughs.
Dave Franco?
James.
Oh, it's James. Okay.
Yep. James Franco, Bryan Cranston, cameos from Adam Devine and all kinds of Elon Musk's in it.
Damn.
It's good.
What's that? Is that on Netflix?
You should be able to find it on one of the major streaming platforms. I don't remember where we watched it again this year, but it's definitely a good one.
Okay. Yeah, I'll keep an eye out for that one. Follow back for number 4 here.
Classic, Elf. I'm going with Elf at number 4. That's probably a little low for some people. It is now 21 years old, if not maybe a little older. And it's one that I could watch every year, and now it's getting to the point where I need to kind of stagger it once every other year. Still so many good laughs. Will Ferrell kills it. It was like peak Will Ferrell time from like that time to like 2010.
You hate to see old Will Ferrell nowadays. It's depressing. Yeah. That tells you how old Elf is. But they just offered him like $29 million to do a sequel to it, and he said no. He's like he read the script and he said no way. The first one's too nostalgic and majestic, and if I don't feel good about this next one, I can do it. So I do support him on that.
Move. Yep.
My number 4 here, I got A Christmas Carol. Ebenezer Scrooge.
He's a classic character.
Good story. I like my morals of Christmas, what Christmas is built on. So it's about giving, not taking. So I like the story that it gives.
I like to see the old guy Scrooge loosen up a bit, really get grounded in what this is all about.
Help Tiny Tim out.
Yep. Stop being so greedy. Share with the people that need it. Tiny Tim saves the day. Yeah, that's all the ghosts of Christmas past, right? Future, present.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a classic story.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Number 3 here, Elf.
Yes. Yep.
Baby, love it.
It's great. Number 3, Christmas with the Cranks. Tim Allen.
Mr. Christmas himself.
Didn't grow up with this one at all. This is one that Darian showed me, and it became one of my favorites. Christmas Town in, I'm not going to remember where, but they overdo it every single year, and their daughter's not going to make it home for Christmas, so they are going to Hawaii. Well, she's coming back for Christmas, kind of saves the day because they were about to become a little cranky. It's a good one.
All right, you're number 3.
Am I snaking?
Yeah.
Home Alone. Macaulay. He has those, what do they call themselves? The wet water bandits or something like that. He has those guys in a body bag, and it's just nonstop fun from start to finish.
2 of my favorite villains of all time.
Yes, they're so good. Pesci? Joe Pesci, right?
I have no idea.
The other guy, I don't know either. So good. And also, like, how does DHS not get called on those parents? Like, okay, first time's an accident. Second time, I'm starting to wonder. Third time, that kid should be taken away to a safer home.
Which one do you like more?
I'm always kind of a sucker for the originals. That one, I'd probably go with the original. It's probably been a couple of years since I've seen the sequels. No, not the Christmas Tireds.
Yes, the Christmas Tireds. I do love Home Alone. Did not make my list. If you ask me on another day, it might make my list. Today, it just didn't make my list.
You weren't feeling it.
Nope.
It's fair.
Number 2, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this one, but I don't care what you guys say. On the Polar Express.
Tom Hanks.
Hot
Who
chocolate.
knows who else?
Ooh, hot chocolate. Yeah, it's Mr. Tom Hanks.
So
That was
good.
like 6 roles in that. He's crazy.
The animation's creepy.
Oh, it's super
and
creepy.
that's like one of the main complaints I've heard of the Polar Express.
The elves are
but
creepy
that one
as hell. Santa's creepy. The guy on top of the train's creepy. The little kid that likes trains is creepy. It's all creepy, but I like it.
I do too.
I like the music of the soundtrack.
the soundtrack is really what wins me over. It
Mm-hmm.
reminds me of being like 8 years old and just the magic.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
talking about. It's all
so
about the
good.
magic. All right, my number one, the kept this list, baby. Christmas Vacation.
Same.
National
Yep.
Lampoons, baby. There's no other way going around it. That'll always be my number one. I can watch it a million times. As a matter of fact, I usually do.
It's always funny. We spent last Thursday night wrapping presents, had a couple glasses of wine, had Christmas Vacation on in the background. I don't even need to watch it at this point, and I know from the dialogue what's happening in the movie. But it's one of my favorites, and it'll
The
probably always be up
entire
there.
movie is good.
Mm-hmm.
Every
Mm-hmm.
scene's great. That's why with my terrible ADHD, I can continue to watch it because I can enjoy every
Right.
single second of that movie.
Yep.
I love it.
Amen. It's a
All
good
right.
list.
Yeah, no, I look forward to this list every year. Next year, my top four are probably going to be completely different, but number one will remain the same.
Yeah. Hey, that was a kind of a quick one, but we've got a great interview with
Yeah.
Michael Admire.
Yeah, everyone out there, enjoy your holidays, man. My favorite time of year. I know we're not going to get quite the white Christmas, which is sad. The Farmer's Almanac stuck it up us again this year. Had us fall. Never believe that thing, but I like to believe in it, because it's always
It's
dramatic.
something, right?
It's
Like
gonna be
as
the
Iowans, we have to.
this could be the worst winter of all time. The Farmer Almanac saying, and I bite it every year, and then it never
too.
fucking happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people always ask me, like, we got Jason down in Missouri. He's like, what does the Farmer's Almanac say? I'm like, oh, it's going to be a bad winter. But don't they always say that?
So it's the season of giving, and nothing is more giving right now than the 11-0 Drake Bulldogs. With that, we bring on the voice of the Bulldogs. He's a member of the WHO Mafia. He's second in the state when it comes to smiles per day. Please welcome Mr. Michael Admire.
Let's go.
Welcome,
Oh,
Michael.
round of applause too, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys having me. This is awesome. I'm a big fan of the social media pages, and I'm like now in on the podcasts because
Nice.
you're fun.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
yeah. Do you know who you would be second place to in the state of Iowa when it comes to smiles per day? If you had to take a guess,
Smiles per day.
an athlete.
Uh, oh man. Um, I mean, I feel like Caitlin Clark's whipping everybody and everything. So
Yeah, she had some
I
fun.
maybe man, smiles per day. I I don't know.
You're in the right area, Lucy Olson. I don't think I've ever seen anyone smile
Ah,
more than her. It's like smile, smile, smile. Okay, I'm gonna pull up a quick mid-range shot on you. Smile, smile, smile. You were third in the state. I had Jan Jensen ahead of you, but she's been getting on the refs a little bit, so
ooh,
I put Mr. Admire in front of her. I think rightfully
I
so.
appreciate that.
That's
Yeah.
I
good
appreciate
company in the
that.
top three
I
there.
mean, yeah, got no reason to be upset these days, right?
No,
So
no,
gotta
especially if
keep a
you're a
smile
case
on.
for sure. Hey, before we jump in the Drake Bulldog basketball here, can you give us a quick little background for the audience here? Kind of where you're from, where'd you go to school? I know you had some time at WHO, then what eventually led you over to Drake.
Yeah, so I grew up in the Kansas City metro area. Went to high school. I'm actually here. I'm back home right now at my parents' house for the holidays.
Nice.
So, yeah, back in Kansas City now. Gonna spend some time down here, but that's where I grew up. I went to school at Pittsburgh State, Division
Okay.
two school out of Southeast Kansas. My dream was to be a broadcaster, a sports broadcaster. So, in high school, that's what I did. In college, that's what I did. And then after I graduated from college, I got my first job right back there in Southeast Kansas in Pittsburgh Joplin market, so a really tiny market. Love my time there. I was there for 18 months, and that's when I had like a contract out. And as soon as I could get out of there, I did. And one of the first jobs that came open was WHO 13 in Des Moines. It was at the same time Hassel was leaving. So when Hassel went to
Okay.
ESPN, that job opened up in January. So John Sears was elevated from number three reporter to the number two guy, and then I slid in into that third position and was at Channel 13 for 5.5 years. And then about that time, I was kind of hankering for something new, and the Drake job kind of came about. And yeah, I've been over at Drake now for 5.5 years as play-by-play broadcaster and director of broadcasting. So do some social media storytelling as well. And then like in the last 6 months, I've been back at 13 a little bit as a news contributor. So I pop on
Nice.
there every once in a while as well.
What what era or what time were you at? You said Joplin, right? Yeah.
Yes,
What year were you?
yes. Uh, yeah, so I graduated in 2011 from college. So I was a year and a half basically. So 2011, 2012, and then I left in 2013,
What year did that
January of
tornado hit
2013.
there?
The tornado, yeah, so that was 2011.
Oh,
So I graduated, and that's actually kind of how the job came about for me there. So I graduated in like May 14th of 2011. The tornado hit a week later on May 22nd, 2011, and it actually hit the apartment complex of the sports director down at KOAM TV. And he got freaked out and was just like, I'm moving back to Ohio, first opportunity I get. And so he took what he had left and moved back to Ohio. And then the job at KOAM came open, and I spent a summer up in, back at home in Kansas City, and then I moved right back down there uh, to start the profession. So yeah, a lot of my like first stories I did, like my whole resume reel that I sent to Keith Murphy, it was like stories about, Joplin's return to the football
Yeah.
field after the tornado, and they were doing a ton of Habitat for Humanity homes down there, and so the Chiefs, the Royals, the Cardinals, the Blues, they would all send representatives down there to build homes and stuff like that. So I was doing stories like that, and yeah, that was honestly like my resume reel is kind of built around stories from that Joplin tornado.
yeah, crazy.
Crazy.
Speaking of the Godfather himself, Keith Murphy, that was who's in charge of hiring you, or at least I had a good
Yeah,
pattern.
yeah, yeah.
Classic.
Keith, so he's a sports director,
Oh yeah.
and then Rod Peterson, who's still the general manager there or news director there. Pardon me. Those guys hired me, and yeah, Keith is when I was looking for my next jump from a small market. I was working with a guy that's like a year older than I was, so I really wanted to find somebody that had been established in the profession, that could maybe be a mentor. Uh, I liked Keith just from watching his stuff, and so I really wanted that job, and I was so thankful that they brought me up there. And I was like, all right, I'll be 3 months, or sorry, 3 years. I'll be in and out of Des Moines. I'll jump to the Kansas City market, another big market. It'd be a nice little stop along the way. And I've been there for 11 years now.
Yeah, well, we're glad to have you in the state of Iowa. We're even happier to have you part of the
Thanks.
Drake program here. And speaking of Drake, we're off to an 11-0 start, second best in school history behind the 18-0 start, I believe. And we talked a little bit about this behind the podcast, but when and where did we riot?
About the man, my pitchfork's ready.
Okay.
I'm but at the same time, when it came out today, I had in my mind this is the AP Top 25. When it came out today, I was like, you know what? I kind of expected it. There's first off, there's a ton of good teams in the top 25, so it's really hard to crack into. But that's just there's just no love for mid-major programs. I mean, what else? What else do you got to do? 11-0, you beat an ACC school, an SEC school, a Big 12 school, none of them in your own house. You're 11-0. I mean, the AP poll's not really a reflection of the best 25 teams anyway. It, Oklahoma is behind UConn. That's a joke.
Right.
That's whatever. So you should give the mid majors a little love here in the voting.
Yeah, yeah. And the case here, if Iowa and Iowa State had the exact same schedule, they both came in unranked to start the year, they would probably be in the top 12 easily, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yes, it's a mid-major bias.
Uh-huh.
I feel like if UConn's ahead of Oklahoma, that throws in a little bit of the East Coast bias. But also, like you guys mentioned this in one of your recent podcasts, like Drake isn't going to overpower a team, but they're going to beat
Right.
you. They're going to find a way to beat you. And so it's a 10-point win against Green Bay. That's not like a sexy win, but they took care of business. They got the job done. Same thing that they did in Charleston. They didn't, run up the score on anybody, but they beat all three of those teams by double digits. So they don't have like that jaw dropping, beat a team by, beat a good team by, 20 points or whatever. But
Sure.
they're 11-0. They haven't been beaten yet.
Man, the product they put on the floor every night is, if you're a true basketball lover, you love to watch Drake basketball, right? It's not super flashy, but you got great role players. You got Cam Mannion down there hitting the dunks, the alley-oops, Bennett Sturt's a floor general, unlike anything I've seen here in recent years. And before I dive a little bit deeper into Drake basketball, Mike, I want to give you my background why I'm such a big
Yeah.
Drake basketball fan. And ever growing up, I've had season tickets to Iowa football. Been a massive Iowa. My entire family, they all went to Iowa. I went to UNI. Uh, I love basketball too. Go to as many games as I possibly can. But for the last couple of years, I feel like we're capped right now. We can't go over the hump. I know we had the Keegan Murray area when we won the Big Ten championship, but I started paying attention to Drake basketball about 5-6 years ago. Right, I think it was right before COVID. Was that the 18-0 year?
The 18-0 year was the COVID
Okay,
year, the
yep.
2020-21 season.
And
But yeah, Darren took over 2018-2019.
okay, so obviously a huge fan of Darren DeVries. Man, what a culture and program he built before he headed off to West Virginia. But I started paying attention, right? And I'm like, God, these guys are freaking good. I mean, back then they had studs like Yesafu, the and one dunk, or it should have been called an and one dunk against Wichita State. You just saw great product on the floor there. They had athletes. They had Tucker DeVries coming here years later, and then you saw something special was building in Drake. And I'm slowly starting to build a snowball off these guys. I'm tuning in as much as I possibly can. I said, I still love Iowa, but I want to see something more consistent. And who's been more consistent in the country in the last 5 years than Drake? No one. I mean, maybe Kansas, some of the top tier blue bloods, right? And I'm starting to tell my cousins, my brother, I'm telling you, you guys got to pay attention to this Drake team right now. I've been saying it for years. Our group chat photo right now is Bennett Sturts. Last year was Tucker DeVries. Okay, so I built some love with my former Hawkeye friends, and I've been telling my dad. My dad's been telling his friends. His friend, who's a cop and going to Iowa, just went down to the Kansas City game to watch Drake. So it's slowly building here,
Spreading the love.
and I've been so obsessed, and oh God, it hurt not to see him catch an NCAA tournament win last year, and I'll say the year before too. But yeah, no, I was down in for the NCAA tournament when Des Moines hosted it, and I went to the bookstore. I got myself swagged up, and ever since, I don't care if you call me a bandwagon or not, but I'm not going to be mad about liking good product of basketball. I mean, it's beautiful right now. And then talk about your life this kind of hitting a wall when you hear Darren DeVries. You knew the inevitable was happening, and you lose one of the best coaches, I think, in the country, and then you lose arguably the best player in Drake program history, two-time MVC Player of the Year. And how lucky are we to be where we are, Michael, with Coach McCollum coming in?
It's crazy. It's crazy, especially like before the 2018-2019 season. There was one year where the team was relevant at all, and
Right.
like the I remember when I was at 13, Nico got the team to 16-16, and Drake fans were losing their minds about being 500. They thought this is like we've made it, we've made it. But I mean, no, Nathan, like listening to you, like you are like the perfect Drake fan. Like that's exactly what we're looking for as Des Moines' hometown team. When Brian Harden, the director of athletics, brought me on in 2018, he's like, we want to be Des Moines' hometown team. We're not going to be, you know, we're going to have, we want to have Iowa fans. We want to have Iowa State fans. But hey, you can take a 5-minute drive right in the middle of the city, come down, watch the team play. You can be home and get your kids in bed at a decent time or whatever it is. And we're going to play, the basketball team's also going to play a fun brand of basketball. And I mean, I love hearing that because in that 2018-2019 season, we went down to St. Louis for the Missouri Valley Conference tournament. And there's like this little tiny room at Maggie O'Brien's in downtown St. Louis. And there were like maybe 20 of us in this room. Like the pep band was going, and it was just like parents basically. And last year, there's 1,000
It's a
fans
swarm.
at the Ballpark Village in downtown St. Louis. Like it has completely flipped over the last 6+ years. And I mean, it's cool hearing your story because I feel like there are others that have had that similar experience. Just watching the team play, you watch them play, they play hard, they play together, they get the job done. And yeah, with Coach Max, like offensive style and defensive style, like it's actually like a beautiful brand of basketball to
Hmm.
watch. The ball's always moving, and yeah, I hope others follow suit.
Oh,
Yeah, I think so. Like having an ear to the ground with some of the Iowa Chill channels, we're seeing a lot of fans pop out of the woodwork, and it's good to hear that. We get a
That's
lot of
awesome.
crap for supporting a team, whether it be Iowa State basketball or Iowa football in general, because it's always like you're favoring somebody. But having some lead people in the fan base say, "Hey, it's okay to join our side," that's nice to hear. But yeah, like we moved to Des Moines in 2020, and I followed Drake casually. Clayton Corver went to Pella, and I'm a graduate of in 14 of Pella. So we followed little Drake, little Creighton here and there, then go to UNI. So I've been keeping an eye on Drake, and then moving here, going to a few Nap Center games. It's really switched my fandom as well. I don't think I fully bought in like Nate. I'm kind of one of those like late bandwagoners. I'm kind of hoping to see like what happens in February and March. But it's a pretty cool brand of basketball.
Hey, we'll take whenever you wanna hop on. The bandwagon's always open.
the
Appreciate that.
the time is to hop on now, Bryce. When I
Okay. All right.
That's the thing. You can be a part of it. You can be a part of the ups and downs and the big swings of the season.
I want to be part of this
Okay.
program and this Drake basketball team more than you could ever imagine, Michael. That's all I want for Christmas. So I'm glad to hear that you're accepting
That's
me.
awesome.
Uh, but when I used to play NCAA basketball in 2008, I wasn't Kentucky. I was not Duke. I was a small mid-major team because what's fun and sexier than building up a team that doesn't have that rich history and bringing them to the NCAA tournament, seeing the fans grow in the stands as you win more games, and that's literally what we're witnessing here right now at Drake. And you're off to an 11-0 start. You're one of four undefeated teams in the country right now.
Mhm.
Drake's had up there to top three in the country, like most wins in the last 5 seasons. I don't know the exact stat of my head, but if there's ever a time to hop on, now's the time to hop on. I mean, you should have hopped on 4 years ago, buddy. Bring on now.
So, Michael, if you were to speak to casual Drake fans or somebody that's thinking about jumping on the bandwagon, what would be your pitch to a new fan?
Ooh, that's good. That's good. I mean, it's a little bit of all the stuff that we've kind of touched on. Like uh, the great thing about being in Des Moines and positioned where we are, uh, there's the access. Brian Horn talks about this all the time: access, affordability, and proximity. So we're close. It's not too expensive to get into the Nap Center, and then you have access to these student athletes like you wouldn't get in other places. Like one of my favorite things that on the men and women's side after the game, the men will take a lap around the bottom of the Nap Center and high five everybody that comes down to uh, you know join in on kind of that circle. Our women's program after the game, they'll go out into the crowd and sign autographs and high five people and just strike up a conversation with some random person in the stands. Like that's the stuff you get at the mid-major level that you don't get at the high major level. And in this era of NIL and pay to play and all this stuff that's going on, you can look right in here into Des Moines, where you got four guys that follow their coach, that were loyal to their coach, and make a move from where they were winning national championships. They make a move to come play Division 1 basketball, and they're not making a ton of NIL money right now. And they have built this chemistry. They're continuing to build this culture where they're playing for each other, and I, they're tough. They're gritty, and that's those are some terms we used when Darren was here too. Tough, gritty. Those things carry on to what Coach Mac's been doing, and they're winning games. So more than likely, you come to the Nap Center, which Drake has won 27 consecutive games at the Nap Center. That's the second longest streak in the country. So more than likely, you come to a game at the Nap Center, you're going to see the team win.
And
That's a
another
good
thing,
pitch.
yeah, another great pitch that you missed out on here is, yeah, you got the team culture and everything like that. A great team, you're winning games, but on top of that, you got a star player in the house. You got
Hmm.
Bennett Sturts. I also love Mitch Muscari too. Uh, Bennett Sturts shines when the light is the brightest, right? The big time moments when you absolutely need him to score. We talked about this in recent podcasts about like Iowa. Iowa's a very well balanced team, but we're kind of, I think Iowa's kind of missing that one player that needs to get you that stop the bleeding bucket, right? You give up a 17-point lead. Who's going to give the guy that, don't worry, guys, I got this. I'm going to put the game on my back. I'm going to take it to the hoop. I'm going to get that bucket. And you kind of saw that from Peyton Sanford against Utah last Saturday. But
Mhm.
Bennett Sturt's been that guy all year long. Kansas State comes from 20 down. I think they go 5, and Bennett Sturts gets a defensive stop. He gets a steal. He's taken it to the hole, and he stops that bleeding. I don't think people I think people are underestimating how important that is. It might not have to be a sexy buck, even if you just get to the free throw line, but to have that composure and consistently put the team on his back and get that bucket and stop the momentum and be able to switch it, that's so special. And this guy does it in the biggest times.
I've done some interviews recently where people are asking about this Drake team, and it's like, have you even watched them play? And then I hear you talk, and like I was about to bring up that exact play because that is Bennett Sturts. That's what he most brings to this team is when you absolutely need to stop the bleeding or change the tide when things are kind of getting a little crazy. Bennett Sturts is the guy that you can turn to, and he did that against Kansas State. We were talking to Coach Mack after the game, and it's like, all right, we've seen Bennett's growth already this season. Where does this one, like, where do you feel like this game can take him? And he's like, there's just a point in every point guard's life that I've coached that they go from the will to win to like, no, we're going to win this basketball game. And that is exactly what Bennett did on Tuesday night. And it was a ton of, even did it a couple times in the Green Bay game. Like Green Bay was making a push. Bennett put his head down, made a nice move, and got to the rim and made a bucket. And it's just like, and some tough shots, like fadeaway jumpers with guys defending him. He did that at Valparaiso, little baseline jumper fading away. Game was getting tight. It's like that is a next level type decision making and playmaking.
And the thing about these big games that he's doing this in, he's playing 40 minutes a game. I mean, he's
Yeah.
doing this being on the court the entire time, being the primary ball handling. We saw Jackson kind of struggle a little bit against Kansas State, and that's where I want to talk a little bit about Drake basketball. I'd like to see that depth built, and Jackson came off a great game against Green Bay when Sturts and Mascari weren't so hot. So you like these smaller, lower tier games are important to build some confidence, and we want to see that transition over into the bigger games as we get deeper into the Missouri Valley Conference. Uh, the one asterisk I do want to pit right now, I'm when I'm looking at this Drake team, I see a lack of the depth from 3-point shooting. Am I wrong there?
Yeah.
Besides outside Mascari, Bennett Sturts is primary ticket to the hole, but if he absolutely has to shoot a 3, he will. He's not bad at it, but his first one is the ticket to the rack. But where are we going to get that 3-point shooting from as we move forward in the season?
Yeah, and I mean you're right. Right now they don't have a ton of depth outside, and you're seeing teams start to adjust to that, really sinking in, packing the paint, and part of Coach Mack's offense is getting touches in the paint. You know, it's all about spacing and getting that touchdown low. Then you can spray it out and really start getting the defense in a blender. So yeah, I mean that's something that you'd love to see Abreu be able to knock down a few more shots. Tavion Banks is a very capable 3-point shooter. I know we haven't seen it yet. I don't know if he got out of rhythm when he was injured in October, but he's a very capable 3-point shooter. And I know that's already something this coaching staff has addressed when it comes to recruiting and all that. Like they're bringing in shooters next year. So I would say,
Sure.
yeah, that's going to be depth of 3-point shooting is going to be a weakness all season. But at the same time, they they're so good in other areas that they are able to make up for that. Now, yeah, I hope Isaiah Jackson able to build some confidence in that Green Bay game and at least be a threat scoring. Because once you're a threat, you can't sag off 5, 6 feet off of them, and that would change the dynamic of this offense for sure.
Sure. Obviously, like 3-point shooting, making big stops. All those things are going to be really important come March, come the Missouri Valley Championship, come let's hope for the NCAA tournament appearance. That being said, if you had to make a bold prediction about this Bulldogs team, what is their ceiling? How far can they go?
Man, it's even crazy that we're talking about this right now because to begin the season, I was like, all right, if they could, Charleston and the K State game, if they could get one of those, you're probably feeling pretty good about it. You win the rest of the non-conference games. You go, take one of four in that, when you're doing the preseason, kind of go down the schedule. And now it's like, all right, 11-0. Darn it, they're not in the top 25. Let's riot. Where could they make a Sweet 16 run? All that stuff. And yeah, they got to win I think they're going to have to win a regular season Missouri Valley Conference championship to have a shot at the at-large. And then you would love to like take that off the
Just
table
lock it up
and
in
win
St.
an Arch
Louis.
Madness. Absolutely, make that whole week fun like it has been the last 2 years. But jo- I think it's John Jacobs, the head coach at FAU. I was listening to one of his press conferences, and he was saying styles make fights.
Mm-hmm.
And the style in which Drake plays, I think it's going to drive opposing coaches, especially in that tournament setting, crazy
Mm-hmm.
because they're really hard to scout against. Because it's hard to scout against, you know, effort and intensity, and their length is a little deceptive as well. I mean, they don't have Darnell Brody, a 6'10" guy in the
Right.
post,
Big
but they've
Brody.
got some deceptive depth and some deceptive athleticism sprinkled in there. That's hard to see on film. So, I think if they got into the NCAA tournament, they got a shot.
Okay.
But I mean, I think they got a shot at like a Sweet 16 run.
Okay.
Um,
There was
I,
the official prediction.
yeah,
You
yeah,
were kind
yeah.
of alluding. Okay. Okay.
Because I
Cool.
think if you win that first game and then it's a short scout,
Right.
uh, and then I mean, you never know what happens in those games. It's all about matchups. I think
Yep.
Drake is going to be a really tough matchup for teams. You might get into the Sweet 16. Things break your way. You never know.
Yeah, 100% depends on matchups. I think Drake got a terrible draw last year against Washington State, just because his Washington State size, right, caused a lot of problems out there. And God,
Man,
I knew that right away going to that game. Like I was looking at their roster. I'm like, this is a terrible matchup. Nobody wants to play a team with this length and size, right?
yeah, and Washington State was playing some good
Uh
basketball
huh.
late. Um,
Mhm.
I mean, at the same time, you know, winning with under 7 minutes to play for the second straight season
Yep.
in the NCAA tournament, you would have loved to see that team close it out. I thought that they had kind of built those calluses over the season that would put them in a better spot, but it's an NCAA tournament. That's why we love it and hate it.
Absolutely, and
Yep.
it's never really benefited me in my entire life for either team I choose. But I got a good feeling here about Drake going in. Hey, one quick question, and then we're gonna move into some rapid fire. We'll wrap this thing up for you.
Ooh.
Can you give us a quick, fun, any like personal stories you know about this Drake team that the average fan might not know?
Ah, man, I feel like the Mascari story about,
Oh, it's
how he
awesome.
was a, yeah, 6 year
Yeah.
guy. He was basically retired from college basketball, had a job lined up in finance in Chicago, was done with basketball. Drake only had 11 players. Coach Mack kind of kept the conversation rolling with him. And basically, Mitch had to put in his 2 week notice. It was like, I'm going back to school.
It,
He went Billy Madison on us.
it's
Such
funny
a good
Uh,
story.
because when you get to the NCAA tournament
yeah,
time, you saw from Wofford last year, I believe, I can't remember. Anyways, they talk about the accountants versus the lottery
Yep.
picks, and who is the most
Mhm.
accountant looking 3-point shooter you've ever seen is Mitch Scarin, and there he is pitting up 8 threes against Kansas State the other night. So
Uh,
he's definitely going to be a key figure come NCAA tournament time if we can reach that goal.
yeah, that's what my wife keeps saying. Is like he looks like he would be like a finance guy. It's like he actually is a finance guy. I love Isaiah Jackson too. He this one may not be as like widely known, but Isaiah Jackson is a barber, so he cuts all the guys' hair before big games. So they're all lined up, they're all looking fresh going into the game. And when we were in Kansas City, I Tavion and I think one of the other guys. I can't remember who else was over there, but they're right next to us in the hotel. And Isaiah goes walking down with his little barber bag, and went in there and did hotel cuts and took care of the guy. So
Oh, that's
I
sweet.
think that's cool. And I mean that's just what this group is. There are like all those really neat little stories within the team, and I think that's like my favorite part of the job, being a storyteller, being in the radio and broadcast aspect of it. I love sharing the stories about these guys, and we've got plenty to tell this year.
Yeah, I mean, that's
I
an
hope we
awesome
get to see
story.
right. I hope we get to see Mascari and guys like Isaiah doing that kind of stuff like Golke last year in the tournament. That'd be pretty cool.
Well, everybody keeps comparing,
Oh
especially
yeah,
like on the bus, like that's Goalkey, that's
Yep.
Goalkey.
absolutely.
That's
Yep.
cool.
All right, Mike, let's jump into here. Some rapid fire. Give me your top
Oh man.
three favorite restaurants in Des Moines.
Ooh, okay. This is my wheelhouse.
Nice.
All right. Number one, it has a special place in my heart. Number one's Chintro,
Hmm. Great spot.
downtown, and then I am gonna go with Lucky Lotus
Okay.
as number two, and then my third favorite restaurant is Ice Cream El Michoacano off Merle Hay Road. It's like
Ooh.
tucked in. Their Mexican is out of this world. So you got Italian, Asian, and Mexican for you. So a little
You
variety.
were completely prepared for that question. You must do this frequently with your wife or
Well,
any
I
coworkers.
we've got all these new guys around
Yeah,
the
true.
around the building. They're like, hey, where should we go to dinner? It's like, all right, I got you.
Yeah, those are great spots.
I had my bachelor party not too long ago. Was that May? Yeah, some type of May this
Yep.
last year. But there's only one place we're going to the night after going out. That was a Drake Diner. There's no doubt in my mind. If I want to get,
Saved us too.
oh,
We were
absolutely,
in kind of rough shape and then feeling great
yeah.
after.
The Drake Diner is undefeated, but I'm such a Drake stan. I figured I should stay away at least from the neighborhood for a second.
Yep, we respect it. All right, who wins in a 2v2 to 21 here? Michael Admire and Andy Fales versus Keith Murphy and Sean Roberts.
Ah, wow. I'm so bad at basketball, and Andy is not very coordinated. Sean, he he would do anything to win at all costs. And Keith is sneaky athletic. Keith is actually athletic, but
He
he
was a
has
high
a
jumper
terrible
back in
back.
Florida. Everyone remembers that.
Yeah, yeah, everybody knows that story. So I mean, I'd probably get to those guys, but I would not go down without a fight. I'll tell you that
Okay, we
much.
respect that. We were kind of hoping you would pick yourself. That way we can rub it in Sean's face and get him heated a little bit because he would take that right to heart.
He's got that
Hey,
competitive Grandview baseball spirit though, so it'd be a tough matchup. I like thinking of you
I
guys
will
as
tell.
kind of like the scrappy Drake Bulldog style of ball though.
Hey, that's why we brought Sean in. I mean, we brought him in for a little bit of that edge. I will tell you, he talks about being QB1 of the Iowa Barnstormers. I'd have smoked him. I'd have smoked him. He wouldn't even able to be allowed on the field if I was out there
I believe it. And
running
since he's not
QB.
here to defend himself, we can just say
Yeah.
that's truth.
Exactly, exactly.
All right. If there's one town in Iowa that's underappreciated, what is that town?
Wow. I was listening to your guys' top five worst cities, and one town that came to mind for me, thinking like the towns I've actually been to that I really like. I did a story out in Mount Vernon,
Oh yeah.
Iowa, and it's just like a nice little downtown. I love it's up a hill. Their downtown kind of runs up a hill. It's a it's a
College
cute
town
town,
too.
a college town. So yeah, I like Mount Vernon. Very underrated. I'm trying to think of some of the towns that I mean, Clear Lake. I don't know if that's underrated, but that's a great city up there. Um, I mean, we spend just so much time in Des Moines now that man, I haven't got done a good job of getting out. You're not going to get Cedar Falls out of me though. I'm not gonna play that game.
That's okay. I love Cedar
I'll go
Falls.
Mount Vernon because that's just top of mind.
Yeah, no, Mount Vernon, a great little town. It's not quite in Cedar Rapids, which is probably a good thing. But if you got to go get some shopping done, you got to sneak 15 minutes over to your western area, get a little shopping done, and get it out. Get in, get
Boom.
out. All right, your favorite arenas that you visited?
Ooh, that's good. I mean, are we going uh outside of like Drake games?
No, no.
Uh, uh,
Whether if you're on the call at a Drake game at a visiting arena, that,
okay.
that that counts.
Yeah. I mean, I've been to Indiana. I've been to Allen Fieldhouse. So those two are probably one, two. I mean, awesome, awesome setups there. Trying to think of like maybe T-Mobile's great. I think
Okay.
T-Mobile's super underrated as like some of the newer arenas. We went to I don't even know what it's called now, BMW or State Farm Arena, the one in Atlanta where the
Hmm.
Hawks play. That place is top notch. Yeah, I mean, Allen Fieldhouse is it just doesn't
Kind of
get
feels
much
like the
better.
Lambeau Field of college basketball. Like everyone
Yeah,
talks about that's kind of being a must. Like you must watch a game there.
and my favorite thing about the Nap Center uh, is like the 1 o'clock game in like January, February when the sun is kind of peeking, cutting through, and you can get some like natural lighting.
Yep.
Allen Fieldhouse has that exact same thing. They've got that natural light that shines through,
Oh no, is that kind of like
and
Jerry's World where the guy was dropping passes because the light was
Oh
sneaking
yeah.
through on CD Lamb? Is that blinding players
it might be a little bit.
while they're shooting 3-pointers?
They win a lot of home games for a reason, right?
Yeah, true.
A little sportsmanship or
That's all.
gamesmanship.
That's all-time engineering right there for sure. All right, final question here. We're in the Christmas time of the year. What is your favorite Christmas movie?
Uh, this is an unpopular opinion. Actually, I think people either love it or they absolutely hate
Oh,
it.
I know what's coming.
Uh,
Me too.
do you really? I love the Jim Carrey Grinch.
Oh
Oh no.
no, I thought
Okay.
he was gonna say Die
Yeah,
Hard.
that's fine.
Okay.
I did too.
Oh no.
See, I think
I,
Grinch is like it's got to be 75% like, but maybe I could be wrong
No,
here.
I think Bryce is right there. I'm a little surprised that you think some people are hating on it. My wife here, that's her favorite movie. She could probably go quote for quote the entire movie. It's scary how obsessed she is with
I
it.
think it might be the kind of like age era that we're in. Like people in that kind
True.
of this time. Uh, I know you guys are younger than me, but in like kind of our era, like that movie. But some people I've noticed that are older or much younger think it's like the stupidest movie ever. If you like Jim Carrey or not
Well, I'm glad I'm
is what
not
it
in
really
that
comes
era
down to.
because I absolutely love
Yeah,
that movie.
Yeah,
that era's wrong.
it's good.
Oh, we mentioned Die Hard, so we might as well bring it up. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Man, I'm like the wrong person. I've never seen Die
Good.
Hard.
Me
Okay,
I'm
too.
not like a
you're
huge
exempt.
If
movie, but okay, all right,
if
sweet.
if people are already questioning it, I'm not gonna watch it. I because to me that's already not a Christmas movie. But we appreciate you for coming on today's show, Mr. Admire. Huge fans of Drake and huge fan of what you do. We love seeing your face smiling after every game, doing the post game clips. I love those. Keep showing us inside stories if you can about this Drake basketball team because we're on board. I promise you that. And if there's anything I can do on a personal level or us here at Iowa Chill to help Drake in any possible way, you let us know. I will do absolutely anything I possibly can, and I will be at the game when Drake comes to Cedar Falls this year. I was at the last one last year. Hopefully,
Nice.
I want a different outcome this year. I'm going to give everything I have
Ugh,
at the
that's
Nate,
cool.
come
McLeod Center.
visit. Come, let's go to the Nap Center. We gotta support at
Yeah.
the
Oh
where
God,
it's
I need
all
to be at the Nav
ground
Center.
zero. Let's do it.
Yeah, I
Let's
was gonna
schedule
say
a game.
you guys can sit by me. Like just come on down. You'll hang out on press row. Yeah, you guys keep doing the genuineness thing of your Drake fandom or appreciation, and then of the podcast too, because this is fun. You guys are on to something.
No,
Well,
appreciate that.
Drake.
Super fun talking today. Nate, you're getting a hold of this interview thing.
Oh God, it's easy to do an interview when something you love, and I've been looking forward to this
Dude,
one.
I love how much you know what you're talking about because yeah, you can definitely tell. So
I
that was fun.
that
I
made my
appreciate you
day.
talking about the dogs like that.
All right, appreciate it. Michael Admire, voice of Drake Bulldogs, hops on with us. Everyone have a great Christmas.
Just west of the Mississippi.